Okay, sagt der Heilige Mishnah. Shtei ginois zu al gav zu. We had two, like it was like steps, and there's two ginois on different levels. One was on the upper level, one was on the lower level. And they had in between them the step, the vertical of the step. So it was a straight line going up, connecting them, a wall connecting them. So shtei zu al gav zu the hayerek b'intayim. So there on that wall that was vertical, a wall of dirt. There was like onions and other vegetables growing out from the wall. Whose vegetables will they be? Will they be of the top person's, or they will be of the bottom person? The Meir Omer Shel Elyon, that the yerek which is growing out of that side, that vertical wall, belongs to the person, the upper gina. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Shel Tachton, it belongs to the lower gina. Omer Rabbi Yehuda, the reason why he's holding that the vegetables belong to the person of the upper gina. Let's see, Rashi. And Rashi says up to the bottom 5 lines. Shahari ofrohu. His reasoning is that it's his ofar. It's his dirt because that's like all the dirt. That's the area of where his gina grows, even though it's elevated, but it's all his dirt. So, and that's where the onions are growing out from. Hari ofrohu, mishalahu yonik, and therefore it's getting its unique of its nourishment from his soil. That's why he believes that it should be his. Rabbi Yehuda said it belongs to the lower person. The next Rashi says shel tachton shal avirohu monach, because in the airspace of his gina, it's there available to him to grab. So then, since each one had a taina, the mission then continues. The Meir, Omar Rabbi Meir, and second line down in the Mishnah, Omar Rabbi Meir, Im Yirtzah Elyon Likat Es Ofro in Kanyer. So you say you have the rights to because of the airspace. Therefore, however, since the adama, the dirt is of the upper gina, he could just like take away. He has the rights to take away the yerek. And as you say, because it's in your airspace, it gives you like it should be yours. But the upper person could just take it away. So and therefore, that's sad to say that like you don't have. You won't have it. The upper person, therefore, it weakens your side that it belongs, that just because it's in your airspace of the lower gina, that it should belong to the person of the lower gina, because the upper person can take it away from him, has the right to take it away by taking away all of his dirt and leveling his gina down to the level of the other gina, of the lower gina. He could take away the yerek. Therefore, it's sad to say that the yerek, just because it's in the airspace of the lower gina, doesn't belong to the lower gina. So Omar Rabbi Yehuda, but wait a minute, you were saying that because it's your afar, the yerek should be yours, because it's nourished from your afar, but the lower person could take away the yerek from him, from the upper person. If he decided to fill in all that airspace and level his gina to the higher level of the upper gina, he has the right to take away the yerek. So then how can you say that just because the afar is nourishing the yerek, that it would belong to the upper person, when the lower person has the right to take it away, to be ma'akiv the upper person from even having the yerek? So Mishnah says, the Mishnah says, Omar Rabbi Yehuda, im yitzah ta'achton l'malos es ginaso ein kan yerek. He could be monea the upper person from even getting to the yerek. So forget whether or not his dirt is nourishing the yerek or not. The lower person could be monea him from having the yerek. So the Rabbi Meir says, you're right. Therefore, since both of them can be ma'akiv the other person from having the yerek, how should we look at it then in regards to whose yerek this should be? As we can't say like we were saying originally that because it's his offer, that makes it his, or because it's his avir, that would make it his. Both of them can take the yerek away. So what would be the determinant for whose yerek it would be? So Amar Rabbi Meir, ma'achar sheshnehem yicholim limchais zel, that can prevent the yerek from going to either one of them. So how are we going to determine? Rayin mehechan yerek zechai. Therefore, we have to look. The only thing that we have to look at is where is the yerek getting its nourishment. It's the only thing left, and that is getting its nourishment from the elyon. So it should belong to the elyon. That's Rabbi Meir. Even though the Rabbi Yehuda said it should belong to the Tachton because it was in his airspace, Rabbi Meir was concluding that it should belong to the elyon for that reason. That was like the reasoning of Rabbi Meir. Amar Rabbi Shimon says, "Call sha elyon yochol livshay as yoda belitul hari hushalo." That if the elyon, he's like a compromised sheet. If the elyon would bend over and stretch his arm down, not stretch his arm, but comfortably grab below any yerek that he can reach comfortably, that would be his. And any ones that he can't reach comfortably, so it would belong to the lower person. Bashar and all the rest, Shalak Tafton, that's the Mishnah. All the rest that according to Rabbi Shimon, what the upper person can't reach comfortably, that would belong to the lower person. So that's the Gemara. Amarova, the Ikroi, if you look at the root of that yerek, if we would focus on that root, up until now we didn't know what they were focusing on, whether they're focusing on the outer plant, the green plant, the leaves, or they're focusing on the whole root, even though we're talking about an onion, which is a root. Omarov the ikro. If you would look at the root, there wouldn't be any machlokas between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Kuli alma lo paligi de elyon heavy, that it should belong to the elyon because it's his soil. That's the just like Rabbi Meir says, the soil, it was his off-row, so it's true. And therefore, if it was the roots are in his soil, they would be his. And when Rabbi Yehuda said that the airspace, because it was his airspace, that he had a claim to the plants, that's because he's not talking about the roots. He would agree with Rabbi Meir that if we're talking about the roots, it would belong to the upper person. But it's because the leaves, which are coming out of the ground, are in the air. So then Rabbi Yehuda says that the lower person therefore has a claim to it because it's in his airspace. So if Kuliyamalo Paligi the Elyon, if we were talking about the roots, keep Paligi, where is the machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir? I guess Rabbi Shimon also Begufo, Benofo, when it's talking about the plant, the leaves that are hanging in the air. Rabbi Meir Soba Shade Gufo Basa Ikro. And we would then consider the leaves to go follow after the roots, and the roots are embedded inside the soil of the elyon. So the nova, meaning the leaves of the plant of the yerek, would also go after the roots and would be considered of the elyon. Rabbi Yehuda, so of our lo amrin and shadik naifo basar ikra, we don't say wherever the roots are, that's where the leaves will automatically have the same din. No, Rabbi Yehuda held that we would look at the airspace, we would give it to the lower person because the leaves are in his airspace. And we see that they're going according to their reasoning. But Azil Tamayu, the Tanya is a gears to change over here. Vitanya Nami Hachi. We have a case, a brisa, which is similar to this idea that we see Rabbi Meir going after following after the roots. And wherever the roots are, and dragging the upper part after the roots, and where Rabbi Yehuda wasn't doing that even though the roots would be in one place, that we saw Rabbi Yehuda not drawing the upper part after the roots. It's a brisa. Here's a V'tanya nami hachi mekach v'memcha ki ha'gavna, a similar case. Tanya ha'yotze, and the brisa says ha'yotze mina ageza. Umina Shoroshin. Hari Elu Shobala Karka. Case was the Rabbi Meir. Case was when a person had karka and he sold somebody else one tree on the karka. So everybody agrees that when you sell one tree, that the land, that the person who bought the tree doesn't have any part of the land. There's a machlokas over there. It's in Bava Basra, whether or not if a person buys two trees, if he's buying the land between them and around them. But everyone agrees that if you're buying one tree, that he doesn't get any part of the land that's around the tree. So a person sold one tree. And in that's what they said, there's a yotzim and a gezer. Suddenly, from the trunk of the tree, another tree started sprouting out. It wasn't just a branch, it was another tree. So, and then there was another case, and then another one came from the roots. Rashi explains that it's explained what is a gez and what is roots. Gez is anything above the ground, which the sun reaches, and shroshim is anything below the ground, which the sun doesn't reach. So then another tree, small tree, started growing from the roots of this big tree that the person had bought. So, Hari Elu Shel Balakarka, both of those little trees, that one, whether it grows out of the trunk of the big tree that was sold to somebody, or whether it grows out of the roots of the big tree that was sold to somebody, it's all getting its yinika from the roots of the big tree, ultimately from the off-row of the Bala Sodeh. So he will therefore own those trees in terms of Mekach B'Memkar. Rabbi Yehuda Omer min hageza. If you look at if it grows out from the large trunk, so then it will belong Shabala Ilan. That'll be of the person who bought the tree, because we don't follow back down to the roots. We look that which is above ground has nothing, is owned by the Bala Ilan, is not connected necessarily back to the roots. So anything which would grow from the above ground, from the Geza, would be of the Bala Ilan also. Minash Shirashim, anything that would grow. And if the small tree would grow out from the Shirashim, which is coming from the ground, so Rabbi Yehuda would agree that would be of the Bala Karka, Shel Bala Karka. Then we see it, even though these two cases, this case of the tree, together with the case of the Yerek growing from the side of the Pinot, is not exactly the same. But in that respect, that whether or not we see that, like we see Rabbi Yehuda not following that which is above ground, not following it back to the Shirashim, so that we do see. That's what it was brought for. So the Gemara says, and that was the second case, which shows that point. We have a third case. With Tanan, we learn, it's a Bryce of Vitanya. It's a Tosefta in Orla. Vitanya, Nami Gabi Orla. Gabi Orla, Ki Hagab, in the case of where there was one person owned the tree and the other person owned the karka underneath. And then these small trees grew out from the geza or from the roots. So the big tree is not Orla because it's already been around for a while. It's like more than 3 years. But the new tree is new. And so maybe it'll be Aser, the Isser Orla will apply to it. Gabi the Isser. So Ki Hagavna, Ilan Hayotzim and Geza, which comes out from the Geza. And then Shroshim and came off from the Shroshim. Chayiv Orla, Dibra Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir is going to hold, it's going to be Chayiv in all Isurei Orla. And Rashi, in the last wide line of Rashi, Rabbi Meir Sobar Shadi Noifo Basar Ikro. Again, he's taking that which is above ground and he's connecting it back to the roots. I'm saying it's going to be shaykh to the roots. Right. Back to the Gemara. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Min Hageza Potter. If it's coming from the big trunk of the tree, which is above ground, it will not be shaykh the Isser of Orla because it'll be shaykh to the old tree, which was already more than 3 years old. Min Shroshim, but if it's coming from the Shroshim, which is from the Karka, then Chayev, he'll be Chayev Isurei Orla because that's mamash a new tree. It's shaykh to the Karka. Rashi in the narrow lines, where we are on the more down 3 lines, Chayev Orla, Karsina, the Rebbe Meir, the Ilan who La'atzmo. We're going to say that this tiny tree coming out is going to be a tree b'fnei atzmo, even if it's coming from the Geza. Why? The geza asamach lekarka. Because it's, we're talking about, by the way, the geza, it grew out close to the ground within 3 tefachim. Samach lekarka. So then it's considered of the, right. Shlosha kekarka, who ve'avagav delo ma'ara mamish yonik, even if it's attached to the tree, but it's within 3 tefachim on the bottom, 3 tefachim of the geza of the trunk. So then it's not mamish. I'm getting its unika from the karka. But nevertheless, he's shadi noifo basar ikro there. Right. And we said Rabbi Yehuda, third line down in the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda Omer mina geza potter, because that's a new tree. Mina shroshim chayev. So now, why do we need these two cases? We just had the previous case of the mekach b'memkar, where a person bought the tree, the other person sold him, and the other person owned the land, and the other person owned the tree. Here we have a case where whether or not there'll be an isser of orla on that which grows from the geza, or whether it grows from the shroshim. The Gemara says we needed both cases. Why? To in Kamaisa, if we only learn the case where the person bought the tree. So you might think maybe there Rabbi Yehuda holds that the small tree that will grow from the geza will be considered the bala ilans because he bought the tree. But when we're dealing with isurim, maybe we'll look at where it gets its unika from, and we'll say that it gets its unika from the shroshim, which are in the land. So it's a new tree, and there'll be an isser of orla, we might say. Therefore, by having this case, we're being told that there's no isser of orla. B'hakamar Rabbi Yehuda mishum did mamayna, because he bought the tree, and it was his mammon, and maybe this small tree would also be considered his mammon. About gabi orla, but when we would look in the case of orla the isura. Maybe Rabbi Yehuda would agree in the case of Isuri Orla that small tree growing from the Geza would be considered Isur Orla. And if we only learn the case of the Orla and we didn't learn the case of the Mekach B'Memkar, so then we might say that maybe it's here that Rabbi Meir says that it'll be considered orla even on the geza because it's isuri orla. But maybe if it was mekach b'memkar, the person actually bought the tree, and anything which grew from the tree might be considered the person, the lokeach, the person who bought the tree, the bala ilans, even according to Rabbi Meir. Baha kama Rabbi Meir, meaning in the case of isur orla. Right, if we had only the eid mar baha, case of isur orla, baha kama Rabbi Meir. In the case of Mekach b'Memkar, maybe Rabbi Meir would agree with Rabbi Yehuda. That's why we needed both cases. But the Mishnah then said that Rabbi Shimon had that eitzah of that, what the yerek will belong to the upper person. Everything that he can reach over and grab, that'll belong to the elyon. And anything he can't will belong to the tachton. Amar Rabbi Shimon. If he can grab it, whatever he can grab by stretching out his hands will be his. Omrei debei Rabbi Yonai. So they said in this base midrash Rabbi Yonai, ubilbad shel yanes. As long as he doesn't have to exert himself, he has to do it comfortably. What he can grab, that's going to be the elyons, because we're going to say that anything below that he's going to be meichel to the tachton, because it's like a busha for him to be going down and getting things that are too difficult for him, or to ask the person on the lower level, can I come into your gina to start harvesting my onions way down there? So he's like Michael, those other Yerakot to the tachton. So boy Rabbi Anan, Yitema Rabbi Yirmiyah, they asked the question, Megil l'noifo. When we say that the hand of the elyon has to be able to reach the plant, whatever he can reach, What do we mean? What are we talking about? Are we talking about what his hand can reach the root, or if his hand can reach the green leaves that are growing up? Or what if his hand only reaches, like, for example, if the plant part is going upward towards the sky, but the onion is inside the Adama? What if he can only reach the green and can't reach the root of the plant? Or what if he can meet Megillah Ikro? What if he can reach the root, but the green is drooping downwards and he can't reach the green? So is that considered his or not? So in Megillah Noifo, my teku, they weren't sure on that. Like there's Omar Ephraim Safar. Ephraim was a Sofer, Talmido Shel Reish Lachish. So he said the name of Reish Lachish, Mishum Reish Lachish. Halacha ki Rabbi Shimon. Halacha is like that third sheet that we see in our Mishnah, that it's whatever the Elyon can reach with his hand, that will be his, and whatever he cannot will be the Tachtoins. He said halacha is like that in the name of Rabbi Reish Lachish. So Amrua Kameda Shvur Malka. Shvur Malka was the Persian king. His name was Shavur, the king. And he happened, like Rashi says, he was a Mamash Chacham. He knew halachas. Rashi, where we are in the Gemara, up about 5 lines. Kameda Shvur Malka. Li Nira Shvur Malka Mamish. The Melech Paras, Haya, the Baki Bedinim. He was a Baki Bedinim. Right? So they said in front of him that Rabbi Shimon said the halachas was like Rabbi Shimon. And he said, so Amar Lahu, that Rabbi Shimon, Reish Lakish said very good by saying that was a halacha. He called him Afraya Reish Lakish. It's a praise. Mataya the Rabbi Shimon. It's a praise to Reish Lakish that he said that halacha was like Rabbi Shimon. That either it means that they should be is Yeshakayach to Reish Lakish, or it means that it's just Shvach or Brocha to Reish Lakish for having said this, or it means Yifaru v'Yidirvu. There should be more time in the Chachamim like Reish Lakish. He's born like that. Hadran Allah Chabayis v'Aliyah v'Silka Lo Mesektas Bava Metzia. So we'll just say the Nusach and have a Hadran Allah Mesektas Bava Metzia v'Hadran Allah Daitan Allah Mesektas Bava Metzia v'Daitan Allah Lo Nisnishei Minach Mesektas Bava Metzia v'Lo Nisnishei Minon Lo Ba'alma Haden v'Lo Ba'alma De'asi. Yehi Rasum Lefonecho Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elo V'Seinu Shetehei Tayrascha Umanuseinu Ba'olam Hazeh B'Siyei Imanu La'olam Haba. Chanina Bar Popo, Rami Bar Popo, Nachman Bar Popo, Achoi Bar Popo, Abu Muri Bar Popo, Rafram Bar Popo, Rochish Bar Popo, Surchov Bar Popo, Ado Bar Popo, Dor Bar Popo. Even some Fonecho Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elo V'Seinu Shtei. Oh, I was supposed to say the above part 3 times. Okay. Hadran Allah Mesektas Bava Metzia v'Hadran Allah Daitan Allah Mesektas Bava Metzia v'Daitan Allah No Lo Nisnishei Minach Mesektas Bava Metzia v'Lo Nisnishei Minon Lo Be'alma Haden v'Lo Be'alma De'asi. Hadran Allah Mesektas Bava Metzia v'Hadran Allah Daitan Allah Mesektas Bava Metzia v'Daitan Allah Lo Nisnishei Minach Mesektas Bava Metzia v'Lo Nisnishei Minon Lo Be'alma Haden v'Lo Be'alma De'asi. So, Yehi Rasum Lefonecho Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elo V'Seinu Shtehei Sorosecha Umanuseinu Ba'olam Hazeh V'Sei Imanu Le'olam Haba. Chanina Bar Papa, Rami Bar Papa, Nachman Bar Papa, Achaz Bar Papa, Abu Mari Bar Papa, Rafam Bar Papa, Rochish Bar Papa, Surchov Bar Papa.